I spent 1,000 days straight building farms in my hardcore world. Make no mistake, this is not a compilation, this is the next episode of my hardcore series and happens to be my biggest project of all time. So, enjoy. Starting now, I have 1,000 days to build as many farms as I can. Right now, we're on day 1,850, so that means that this video will end when I'm on day 2,850. Unless I die before that, because we're still in hardcore. We're just gonna jump straight into it with the first farm, which is going to be for gunpowder. Currently, this is my only functioning gunpowder farm. I used to use this raid farm, but it's outdated. The gunpowder farm that I want to make has to be built in a perimeter, which is basically a giant hole in the ground. So we're going to blow up this whole chunk of land with this giant machine in 3, 2, 1. But first I should rewind and show what it took to get here. What's commonly referred to as a perimeter is a square hole extending to bedrock that's usually several hundred blocks long. The holes are too big to be dug by hand, so TNT flying machines are usually used to dig the hole. The purpose of perimeters is to provide a huge open area useful for farms that need a lot of space or rely on low Y coordinate mob spawning, which is the case for creeper farms. I've made a perimeter twice before in my survival world, but this time it's gonna be a bit harder because I've decided that where I want it to be is mostly on an ocean. We'll get to why that makes things trickier later. For now, I need to wall out the area of where my perimeter is going to be with stone. For the perimeter making machine, which is also called a world eater that I'm using, you have to dig out 4 trenches on each side of the perimeter. 2 on opposite sides for the flying machines to bounce between, and 2 smaller trenches on the other sides to make sure that water or lava doesn't flow in. In theory, the smaller trench only has to be 1 block thin, so that's what I did, but then I remembered that if I want a flying machine to move in it, it needs to have 2 air blocks next to it so the slime blocks don't stick to the wall. I extended the wall and I drained it with sponges that I got from raiding some ocean monuments. I found a 1 block wide TNT flying machine and I dug some of the trench by hand to minimize the water damage from the walls getting blown up, but that didn't seem to help very much. With a few repairs and some patience, eventually the first out of 4 trenches was done. I'm not very good at keeping track of time, but that was around 25 Minecraft days, and I had to do it again on the other side, so I tried out a different method to see if it would be faster or not. Instead of using TNT flying machines, I dug a 1 wide trench by hand. This method was definitely more boring, but it was easier and I didn't really have to think about much. If you don't have to worry about a ton of water, I probably would not recommend this method. The 2 trenches so far are only to prevent water and lava from flowing into the perimeter as it's running. To house the giant redstone mechanics, we're gonna need to blow up an even bigger trench on the other 2 sides. Just like on the smaller trenches, the first step is to get rid of all the water. If you've ever done anything like this, you know that this just sucks, but you have to do it. For the first time, I actually used redstone flying machines to help with getting rid of the water, which I think helped a bit. My biggest issue with the first trench is that the TNT would blow up the bottom of the wall that was supposed to be holding in the water, and then it would all get released. Even if I fixed it, it would just get blown up on the next run until the TNT fell far enough to not affect the wall. I added a layer of water to protect the wall from getting blown up, and to be honest, I have no idea if that helped or not. I still had to repair and drain between each run, but this is just what I get for making a perimeter in an ocean. I did the same thing on the other side to complete all 4 trenches, and as much as I can complain about stuff breaking, lava being annoying, that was the hard part, and this project is only going to get more fun from here. All 4 of the trenches are done, and that has taken me 100 days exactly. That was not planned. Next up is to build the world eater. Yes, it's actually called that. That's what we're going to use to delete pretty much everything in this giant square. This is the list of all the items I need, except for leaves. I don't need those. At the top of the list is slime blocks. I need over 3 shulker boxes full of slime blocks. I'd say I have a good amount of slime by most standards, but this is just not nearly enough. So I'm gonna go and AFK at my slime farm to get all that. I AFK'd for a couple minutes and then I realized that this is supposed to be 1,000 days of building farms, not 1,000 days of standing still. So I went and I built a brand new slime farm. This one utilizes the new oozing and infested potion effects. The way it works is we have some allays here taking drowning damage. They naturally heal so they don't die. They have the infested effect, which means that they have a chance to spawn silverfish when they get hurt. The silverfish are getting splashed with oozing, which means that they drop slimes when they die, and then those slimes are getting compressed into slime blocks. It's not even been an hour and I have all the slime that I need. Now, something interesting happened back when I was running the witch farm to get not only gunpowder and bottles for the slime farm, but also redstone to make more materials for the world eater. And thinking back, I think this is now the closest I have ever come to dying in this world. What happened was I was just AFK, not actually, I was having Minecraft run in the background. And occasionally I check back into the game just to make sure everything's okay, and when I did that I noticed that my health was dangerously low. The issue was that when I built this farm, I never selected an effect on the beacon. I'm supposed to have regeneration to keep me from starving, but I completely forgot to do that earlier, and that could have just ended my whole world. I spent a few hours running some farms to get all the materials, and then I spent some time crafting mostly pistons to finish getting all the materials for the world eater. This is what all those materials look like clumped together. Now we gotta build this thing. Each side of the world eater has two parts. The top is the TNT bombers that will blow everything up, and the bottom is sort of like a sweeper for any lava or water. To build this and a lot of the other stuff in this video, I'm using the mod Lightmatica. If you've watched any of my other videos before, you'll be tired of hearing this, but just want to be clear. If I wasn't using it, this build alone would probably take the whole 1,000 days. The final step in preparing to run this is getting rid of my old raid farm, which is no longer working. And now it is time to finally run this thing in 3, 2, 1. Alright, after 200 days, the big hole is finally done. It did not go as smoothly as presented. Even though I've made a perimeter just like this before, it still went wrong a couple times. If you want to hear more about that and see some bonus footage, check out my bonus video that's up right now on my second channel. While it was running, I spent most of my time mining ores. We've got all of these diamonds, and then I also mined some extra ores because why not? I might need these in the future. Alright, I'm gonna get organized and then we can gather materials for the creeper farm. In case you forgot, that's what this has all been for. Alright, for the most part, the materials are pretty easy. In fact, I've actually gotten most of them right here. Now, this may look like a lot of stuff, and that's because it is a lot of stuff. But it's all materials that I've already gotten farms for, so I just had to do a bunch of crafting. The last material I need is 6 shulkers of tinted glass. Getting regular glass is no problem, but every tinted glass needs 2 amethyst shards, and these things are super hard to farm in bulk. I need 12 shulkers of amethyst shards, and this amethyst farm that I built in the 100 farms video is not going to help very much. It's a lot more efficient to mine amethysts by hand because you can use fortune and you can get those spots that the automatic farms don't get. My plan was to mine all of the geodes nearby by hand, and then as I was waiting for those to grow back, I was going to build a second automatic amethyst farm, because I might as well be doing something during that time. However, I got enough amethyst shards from doing it by hand, and now I just have this giant hole with an unmade amethyst farm, so that's something I can do in the future, I guess. I crafted up all of the tinted glass, and now we can move all this stuff to the perimeter and finally build this creeper farm. We're going to start with the spawning platform, which is built as low as possible. Mob spawning increases the lower down you go, so I'm building it right above bedrock. Every 2 blocks there's a dispenser, and in each dispenser is a boat. There needs to be water above each dispenser, and ice is the easiest way to do that. If you break ice above a block, it'll turn into water, and then I'm using mangrove roots to waterlog it. 4 sea pickles go on top of each mangrove root. The walls of the farm are going to be tinted glass. It doesn't technically have to be tinted glass, but you can see through it and it keeps out the light. To make sure only creepers will spawn, we gotta place a layer of trapdoors. On the layer above is where the portals are going to be. More ice for waterlogged stairs. Carpet goes on each of those stairs. Now we gotta finish up the portals and make sure those are spawn proof with some slabs. Now we dispense the boats from the dispensers, which are now perfectly aligned. And finally, a zombie pigman trap on each side. The way that the farm works is that the creepers spawn in there, they get picked up instantly by the boats, and their head is poking above, touching the portal, so they get teleported to the nether. That means we need to build a nether side to kill the creepers and collect the gunpowder. This is what the killing chamber on the nether side looks like. This portal should be perfectly aligned to link to the portal in the overworld. Perfect. So when the creepers get teleported, they're gonna fall down here, die from fall damage, and then the items are going to get moved by the pistons, and then we'll build the collection system later. For now, let's light the rest of the portals. Ugh, one more left. Okay, right now, well, we can see that the pigment trap is working, but creepers are not spawning because of the mob switch that I have in my world. In the previous videos, I made a mob switch which prevents mob spawning across the entire world. Here we have 70 zombie villagers on the edge of the spawn chunks, and if we push them to the side, the mob switch should turn off. Now, I kinda screwed up when I was choosing the spot to build the perimeter. The mob switch is off right now, which means that mobs should be spawning, but if I fly over and take a look inside the farm, I don't see any creepers spawning. And then if we check in the nether, yep, nothing. I discovered this issue back when I tried using my original gunpowder farm to make the splash potions in the slime farm. In the AFK spot, even with the mob switch off, creepers just wouldn't spawn. The reason that no creepers or any other mobs are spawning is because of the mob switch. It doesn't matter if it's on or off, it's just too close. To put it in perspective, that is where my farming area is, and over there is the spawn of my world. That's where the mob switch is at. My first thought was, okay, I'll just lower the render distance when I want to use the farm, but that didn't work. My second thought was to lower the simulation distance, but that didn't work either. My third thought was to try lowering the max shadow distance, and you're not going to believe it, but that didn't work either. The only way I'm going to be able to fix it is by killing all of these mobs and building another mob switch somewhere else. Luckily, I realized that I would have to do that a while ago, so I've already got this new mob switch set up, and I've got a decent amount of villagers here. I modified the setup a little bit so that the villagers are going to be on the edge of a chunk. I converted all of the villagers that were stored up, and we've got 41 out of 70 done so far. This is a chunk loader, which means that this area is going to be loaded no matter where I'm at in the world. So while we wait for 30 more villagers to spawn, let's go finish the gunpowder farm. When I was working on the perimeter, I saw a video by Radical Elder, and he built the same farm design that I did, but he did it 4 times. So yeah, I kind of want to do that too. Don't worry about the materials. I took the 3 extra farms into account when gathering the materials earlier. The build process was pretty much the exact same as the first time, but times 3. I would like to make it clear that I do not recommend building more than one of these farms to pretty much anyone. Even if you're on a server, one of these is going to be plenty. My least favorite part about the project was dispensing each of the boats. I'm sure there's a more optimal method than what I did, but whatever. To finish up, I lit the portals, I got rid of the beacons I was using for speed, and I got rid of some of the world eater where mobs might spawn. I should be destroying the entire thing since I'm done with it, but I'll save that for later. Kind of unrelated, when I was building the farms, when I came out of a portal, everything was black, and I've never seen this glitch before. I don't know if this is caused by one or more mods that I have installed, or if this is a default Minecraft thing, I don't know. Between working on that, I got all of the zombie villagers. There's currently 70 zombie villagers right there that we can push from side to side. This is the same design that I have in my spawn chunks, except this is the middle of nowhere. To finish it up, I have to build an ender pearl stasis chamber a few chunks away, which is going to keep this area loaded at all times. Let's leave this on and go destroy the other mob switch. Alright, it hurts to do this, but here we go. Even though we just killed all those zombies, there should not be any mob spawning because we left the other one on. It is night right now. I have a setting that makes it easier to see the video. And looks good. Nothing is spawning. Now we turn it off. It is daytime, but if we take a peek with free cam, we can see that there are mobs now spawning. Now it is time to approach the creeper farm. I don't have to turn anything on. As soon as I get close to it, they're going to start spawning. With this farm, you gotta be really careful that your portals are all aligned correctly, because you don't want the creepers generating a new portal and then crashing your game by spilling into the wrong portal. I already did the aligning. I checked that each corner still goes to the same portal, so let's just go. This room in the middle, this is the AFK spot. It's a bit hard to see, but it is running right now. It looks like the creepers are spawning in and then disappearing in an instant, which is kind of what is happening. Now we gotta go back to the portal in my starter base. Like I said earlier, make sure that no creepers are generating any new portals, because that can be pretty bad. We're not going to see any creepers falling through the portals here because I'm not standing in the middle of the farm anymore. When the farm is running, the nether side looks insane, and I'll show you what that looks like later. If you remember how long I was standing in the middle of those farms, that generated all of this gunpowder, and we can use this clock to push it all down. Yeah, not even a minute, and this is insane. After working on this for months, it's good to finally have something to show for it. The final step is to build the collection system with all the Shulker Loaders and whatnot. The end is in sight, and I'm excited to finally finish this project. This collection system is something I designed, kind of. It's more like I took a bunch of other people's designs and then cramped them all together to make this. The reason I'm building it at the very end is because I need a ton of gunpowder to kind of get the system ready. If I was to wait to do that, I'd have to crawl through the system and manually fill up all of the hoppers and dispensers with gunpowder, and I don't want to deal with that. Well, this is it. This here is a shulker box creator. Whenever the loader is empty, it'll craft a new shulker from the raw materials. It's basically a compressed empty shulker box storage. The rest of it is a line of shulker box loaders. The reason that it changes direction is because I will be running this farm when I am in the overworld, which means I won't be loading these chunks myself, which means that the portal, which only loads like a 5x5 chunk area, will not load the chunks beyond here. Now I want to test the farm out. I'm gonna go AFK for 5 minutes, and I want to see how much gunpowder we get from 5 minutes of standing still. As I mentioned before, this farm is really fun to watch from the nether side, so here's what that looks like. Yeah, insane. I think I forgot to turn on the clock that pushes the items down. Yeah, look at all that. Most of that is just gonna get burned because it's so built up. Now we try that again. Alright, let's see how much. I have an idea because I've already tested this farm a bunch. And look at this. This is 22 shulkers full of gunpowder in just those 5 minutes, and I don't know how much gunpowder is kind of left over in the shulker loader. This farm generates 550,000 gunpowder per hour. If you wanted to make it even more efficient, you can destroy the bedrock and build it on the very bottom level of the world. It's a little too late for me to do that now, but building 4 of these farms is already going overboard. Now, with infinite gunpowder, I can craft as many rockets as I... Oh. Well, I still have 700 more days until the end of the 1000 days, so let's build a bigger sugarcane farm. In my survival world, I created this rocket factory, and on the inside is a pretty big sugarcane farm. I'm not going to build it by the gunpowder farm, but I do want to use a updated version of this sugarcane farm. Before survival, I put it together in a creative testing world. I attached 2 different item collections, one for sugarcane and a way to auto-craft the sugarcane into paper and then pack that, because I'm mostly going to be using this farm for paper anyways. One of the blocks that I need the most of is mud. It's not necessary for the farm because I could just use dirt instead, but the mud matches with my color palette for builds more. I built the fastest mud farm that I could find. Luckily, it is fully AFKable, but you still do need to supply the dirt to make mud. I probably do have enough dirt somewhere, but I haven't used this dirt farm since I built it like a year ago. It may not be the biggest, but this is probably the most redstone intensive farm I have in this entire world. It absolutely burns through bone meal, but it's super efficient, and I get logs as a bonus. Now I just stand here and place all of that dirt, and the mud farm does the rest. It feels good to not have to fly out to a mangrove swamp and dig all this. To make all of the pistons and the observers, I need 16.5 shulker boxes full of redstone, so let's go run that farm. Let's make sure this is on. Yep. Oh, and I always forget to turn off the mob switch. I ran the farm for a couple hours. I wasn't keeping track. I did it until I realized that it broke. It was a pretty easy fix, and the reason it broke was because frogs. Frogs got into the bottom area and messed with the minecarts. I ran it long enough to get 2 boxes full of redstone blocks, and that should be enough for now. All of the resources laid out here is what it takes to make just the pistons. To make the crafting a little less obnoxious, I use the mod item scroller to craft things really fast. Okay, this is all of the pistons. Now it's time to do the observers. Yay. Alright, here's all the materials for the observers. Using all of this cobblestone for the observers and the pistons made me realize I would benefit a lot from an upgraded cobblestone farm, so if I've got time, that's something I'd like to do later in this video. The observers are done, and that should be most of the crafting done. I need 5.5 boxes of powered rails, so I'm going to use my duper farm thing. I just realized to make this a bit faster, I could temporarily use all of these for powered rails. You know what they say, work smarter, not harder, but work smarter to not wait longer or something, I don't know. Alright, powered rails, easy. My go-to building material, stone, I'll need some of that. Iron bars are pretty simple to get. I need some glass. I've been cooking some for, I don't even know, but I've got enough. I'm gonna dye it red, of course, and I have infinite poppies from the iron farm. I'll need some packed ice. I've got plenty of this from the icebergs I cleared in the last video. I'm using shroomlights as my light sources, so I ran the fungus farm and the stem farms. A dedicated shroomlight farm is something that I would like to make in the future. I need some stone items, so I'll run the stone farm for a bit. And finally, all of this stuff. And that is all of the materials. I'll admit, it's a lot more than I thought that there was going to be, especially when you consider all the resources that are condensed into those pistons and observers. Next is finding the build location. Most of the farms that I've built in this world are in this area, but I'm not going to build it here for a couple reasons. The farm is going to be always on, if that makes sense. A lot of the farms in this area, like Netherwort farm, any of the tree farms, they're all things that you can turn on and off. That means when I'm in this area, these farms aren't producing any lag. From now on, I want to build farms that are always on somewhere else to help protect this place from lag. There is one more thing that I need, and that is as much sugarcane as I can get. This is going to help kickstart the sugarcane farm, and as I'm building it, it's going to produce more and more, and I'll have plenty by then. I do not remember where this portal goes. Okay, wow, it is weird seeing the mountain range in some random portal because it spans such a giant area. I don't want to build it near the mountain, and I also want to avoid any biomes where water freezes because we're dealing with a lot of water in the farm. I think the desert would be the best place to build it, and I do know where a desert is. I come out here every once in a while for coral and terracotta, and I think if I just fly out a little bit, this area or somewhere near here would be a good spot to build the farm, maybe above the water. I'm gonna go bring all the materials here. I think that should be possible in one trip. Okay, I've got everything. I'm sure I'm missing something. I am going to go ahead and build it over the water. That's the size that it's gonna be. The idea of this video revolves around days, but I keep on forgetting to check the day that I'm at. So, day 2203, let's see what we're at when this is all done. I started out with the collection area in which I'll be able to choose to store everything as sugarcane or paper. And besides this, every other part of the farm is pretty much a giant chunk of repeating tiny farms. Each repeating section of the farm is 6 by 9 by 3 blocks. And in the total giant cube farm thing that I'm building right now, there is 9 by 6 by 17, which means that we have a total 918 tiny farms that make up this giant farm. And that's all for now, because the cool thing about this farm is you can repeat it in any direction. As long as you just follow the patterns, you can build more and more and more until you get as much sugarcane as you want. I think you'll agree this is good enough for my single player world. If not, it's a little overboard. But if you haven't caught on already, that's kind of what I'm doing in this video. Besides the boredom of building the same thing over and over again, the hardest thing about building this farm was dealing with the water. In order to move all the items across in such a compact design while also being lossless, which means that every piece of sugarcane gets collected, the farm requires some pretty genius uses of water mechanics. What you first do is get all water sources on the bottom level. I did it with buckets, but you can probably also do this with ice. I'm not sure which would be faster. Then you place some temporary top slabs. These are waterlogged, so they don't get rid of the water. Then you're going to place one flowing water, which is going to move the items across. And the final step is to get rid of those temporary slabs. The reason we need the slabs is to carry the water across, and if you don't use them, then this happens. Right now, all of the sugarcane is getting thrown into the fire because I don't want all of it to be packed into shulker boxes yet. I don't have enough shulker boxes right now, and if I was to run out, then the system would kind of break. It's hard to explain. What I can do now is place a shulker right there, and yeah, it's not filling up, which means I have to figure out how to get this running. I think the best way is going to be to get rid of all the sugarcane from the hoppers, and then that should fix it. Okay, it should be running right now. Alright, now we can unleash the sugarcane. Oh, where did that glass go? Okay, as I mentioned, I'm a bit low on shulker shells, so that is what I'm going to be focusing on next. But to finish off here, let's pack everything up. I almost forgot to check what day I'm at. 2245. That means building this farm start to finish took around 42 days. And by the way, I'm not sleeping through nights in this video, so each day is the full 20 minutes. Oh, not this glitch again. Even the text is black. Okay, thankfully it's a very easy fix, just gotta reload. Alright, let's go to the end. Alright, here are my shulker farms. This is the one that I currently use, and, you know, so far it's been pretty good. As you can see, I've got another shulker farm here. This is the original one that I built, like a year ago. And as far as I know, this is one of maybe 2 or 3 farms in my entire world that are outdated. I'm not sure if there's a reason why or if it just happens to work the way it does, but updates frequently mess up shulker farms, so I don't want to make a giant, super efficient shulker farm because it might just break in the next update. For now, what I'm going to do is tear down the old farm, and I can use some of these resources to help with gathering enough to make 3 more farms. There was nothing really expensive or difficult to build. There was just one very, very frustrating step. When the farm is all built, you of course need at least one shulker in there to kind of get it started. Instead of bringing a shulker on rails to the farm, I thought of just building a little jut for the shulkers from the original farm to teleport over to the other one. It worked perfectly for the first farm that I built, but the other 2, I cannot for the life of me get shulkers to end up in the other farms. They would teleport on the blocks that I added to the side of the farm, but even when I broke those, they would just float in midair. I tried using rails, and that didn't work. I tried figuring out on a creative copy of the world, and the shulkers would teleport on an occupied block before an open space, which I have never seen before. If you have any ideas on how to get this to work, please leave a comment. For now, I'm just going to build a few bridges across the farms, and hopefully over time, shulkers might teleport over, but we'll see. I went AFK for a while, took a break, and I came up with an idea. I'll need to pick out a few things. Let's get rid of these bridges. I'm editing it down a lot, but imagine how annoying it is to constantly be hit by these levitation pellets that the shulkers shoot out. The frustration of not being able to get these shulkers in the farm is multiplied by constantly getting hit and having to wait 10 seconds for the levitation to run out. It is rough. My idea is basically to pick up a shulker with a minecart, which is pretty normal, but I'm going to try and eject it in the middle of the farm, and we'll see what happens. Okay, we got one. Let's see. Oh, and of course it goes to the only block with a lever on it. I am so ready to be done with this. Oh, I think that's it. No, why is this so frustrating? Alright, let's make sure to block off anywhere it could go. Okay, it's in. It shouldn't have anywhere to go. How is it gonna go wrong this time? Okay, it duplicated. We finally got it. Okay, time to do that on the other side. Okay, we got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that there is a shulker in each farm now. The bad news is that I've discovered a new problem. There's supposed to be boats which kind of act as funnels that put the shulkers in the right place at the very top of the farm, but sometimes they get broken by the shulkers, and that is because they target me and they end up hitting the boat. So what I need to do is build a giant roof so that the shulkers don't see me and try to shoot me. I'm gonna go grab a bunch of slabs and buttons. Hopefully that should be good. Okay, this is basically impossible. As soon as I place the slab, the shulkers teleport before I have time to place a button. All while I've got like 20 or 40 shulkers in each thing trying to shoot me, and it just doesn't work. I'm gonna try using chests, which are almost a full block and shulkers can't teleport to them. It wasn't easy, especially since the projectiles take up such a huge hitbox, but it was at least possible. So I eventually got all of the chests down, and I think we're good. Finally. I don't think I've ever seen all my armor so damaged at one time, at least in this world. I don't want to do it for too long, but I'm going to go AFK for a little bit, and then hopefully we'll get enough shulker shells to last for a while. Alright, got a good amount here. Now let's go do something else. I can use this Enderman farm that I've never used before to fix up my armor. I installed some shulker crafters at the Sugarcane farm. This is the same design that I showed earlier. What it basically does is convert boxes of logs and shulker shells into shulker boxes whenever they're needed. I call it a compressed shulker box storage because otherwise you would need a bunch of chests with shulker boxes that don't stack. A while back, or maybe like 10 minutes for you, I mentioned that I would like to have a more efficient cobblestone farm. Like most farms in my world, this has been around since a year ago when I made the 100 farms video, and a farm like this is gonna be more than enough for most people, but I am not most people. I forgot to record it, but in a creative world I put this together. Of course I didn't design the main feature because that's just way beyond me, but I did put together this shulker box loading system, which is pretty similar to a lot of the other stuff you'll see in this video. To help with gathering the materials to make the farm, I took down the world eater, which I had left up until now. Something kind of unrelated that I worked on after that is I built a bunch of these ender pearl stasis chambers that act as chunk loaders under my storage system. I was having issues with it just being overloaded and not having enough time to sort stuff. Now it'll be able to run when I'm out building a farm or whatever. Just like with all the other farms I've built in this video, I spent some time gathering the resin materials. In total, it's kind of a lot of stuff. I think you'll see in the upcoming time-lapse that this farm is very dense with resources. Since it's a farm that's turned on and off, around here would be a good spot to build. Compared to most other farms, this one was pretty tricky to build. Each layer has so many different types of blocks arranged in a weird way, it was hard to keep track of even with Lightmatica. To align the TNT, this farm requires floating water, which you have to do with a certain glitch. Luckily, I had done this in one of my first ever farm videos, and it still works in this version. Another tricky part of this farm was the lava. I saved it to the end, hoping that I could just drop the lava and have it all flow down, but it turns out that every block of lava in this farm needs to be a source block. That means that I need around 40 shulker boxes full of buckets of lava, and my farm doesn't produce that much. Luckily, there is a dimension that's full of lava, so it wasn't too hard to get or anything. Even though it was harder than most farms to put together, I definitely had a lot more fun building this than the shulker farm. Okay, let's run this thing. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, look at that TNT. You can see the cobblestone flowing through. Let's see how fast this can fill my inventory. And it's full. Yeah, this thing is crazy. It produces around 2 million blocks per hour, and I think that might be the most of any farm that I have in this world. It'll take a couple minutes for the boxes to start filling up, but this is where those will end up. Okay, that was faster than I thought. You can see we've already got some full boxes of cobblestone coming in. I think I should probably turn this off for now, and I probably won't have to turn it back on for a while. The video's not over, but I want to take this time to say thank you for making it this far, and if you've enjoyed the video, consider subscribing and liking the video. It would really help to make this video reach more people. Alright, now we're gonna move a bunch of these shulker boxes back to my... Oh, there's even more. The next farm is going to help to kind of fuel future and present farms. A lot of farms need bone meal to run, like flowers, trees, the dirt farm, and mushrooms, a lot of stuff. This is my current bone meal farm, and I like this farm quite a bit. It's probably my favorite to watch run. I could watch this all day. It is expandable, but the problem with this design is that it's limited by lag. You can expand it as much as you want, but at a certain point the lag cancels out the increased rates. The process for creating this improved bone meal design is going to be pretty much the same as it has been for the previous few farms. Put it together in creative, gather the materials, build the farm, clean up, and it's done. The Tower of Bone Meal. While I was building it, we actually crossed the halfway point to the 1,000 days. I want to take a bit of a break from this process of making the farms that I've been doing for the past couple months. Instead of building brand new farms, what I want to do is improve upon the existing farms that I have in my world. First up is the stone farm. This one I use quite a bit. Stone is like my go-to building block. First, let's run it. Okay, how do I explain this? Due to recent updates of zombie piglin behavior, this farm is kind of broken. For one, they actually stop being aggressive towards me, and then I have to go and hit the zombie piglin again. The main issue is that they will clump together in corners, and they'll also spawn at the bottom, which was not possible before. I am not going to fix this part of the farm. I am going to make a better item collection. I'm gonna make a shulker box loader, but I'm not going to fix this issue because in the next update, 1.21.5, I'm in 0.4 right now, they fixed the glitch where zombie pigmen that are angry at you will drop XP even if you don't kill them. That is how my mending pickaxe is continuously fixed with the zombie pigmen. Instead of fixing something that's just going to be broken whenever I update the world next, I'm just going to leave it as is because it still works. Maybe it'll cause a bit more lag. So yeah, all that explaining just to say I won't fix this part, but I am going to make a shulker box loader, but first let's get all this stone and chests out of here. I'm using the same design that I have been in this video, and one of them should be good enough. Another farm that needs fixing is the gold farm. And actually I need to fix something on the overworld side of it, and I'm going to approach from the overworld just to be safe. Alright, that's it for this side of the farm. On the nether side, I need to place some trapdoors so the zombie pigmen don't get stuck on the edge. And that should be it. For the shulker farms, I have a bunch of hoppers, and I'm gonna make all the items go into one bunch of chests instead of each having their own storage. Alright, now all the shells will end up in these chests. Okay, I'm going to be honest, I thought I had a lot more farms that I wanted to improve, but for some like the gravity block duper and my wood farm, I would rather build bigger or better farms for those instead of building a collection or shulker box loader just to end up making another farm sometime later anyways. With that being said, let's just keep making farms. We got more than 400 days to go. When collecting materials for the bone meal farm, I realized there was a resource that I don't really have a very reliable source of. That material is pumpkins. This was one of the first ever farms I built in this world, and it was over full. When I checked it last, there might have been enough pumpkins if I had a huge storage system for it. I built 2 more of these farms to hopefully get enough pumpkins as I was collecting more resources. Eventually I just planted a bunch of pumpkins and mined them by hand. Before I realized it would be a lot faster to do that and just build while I'm waiting for the pumpkins to grow, I collected enough resources to build a melon and pumpkin farm. A much bigger one, obviously. The first part I'm gonna build is the collection area. The pumpkins are put into shulker boxes, and since melons break into melon slices when they break, those are getting sorted into crafters and then compressed back into a block, which are then put into shulker boxes. This farm is going to work a lot differently from the other crop farm I made in this video, the sugarcane farm. Instead of having permanent pistons that are above each of the crops, I'm going to use flying machines that fly over a giant field of pumpkins and melons and gathers them that way. This farm uses a pretty interesting way of collecting the materials instead of having a hopper minecart or a bunch of hoppers under the farmland. When it's all done, I'll show you how that works. The second part of building this farm is the other side. Since this is a flying machine, it needs some way to bounce back. The final part is building the giant dirt field that all of the melons and pumpkins are going to be planted on. There needs to be water every so often, and I used ice to help with that. I hoed the ground in a checkerboard pattern. This is the most efficient way to grow melons and pumpkins. This was the first time in this world that I figured it would be a good idea to upgrade my hoe to netherite. The best method for planting melons and pumpkins is to plant the seeds in alternating rows. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. Okay, the last step is to set up the item filters, and I'm gonna need to run the farm to get the materials to set up the item filters. I'm gonna place a dirt to block it off, and now, where? Okay, here is the lever to turn it on. I'm actually going to flip it again so it doesn't start again when it comes back. You can see the way it collects the pumpkins and melons, it's pretty cool. While building, I had to put hopper minecarts inside of composters, and that's how it's collecting the materials. The composter gets pressed against the pumpkins and melons, which breaks it, and then the hopper minecart picks it up. Each of the breakers moves ahead 2 blocks at a time to not break the stem or seed that was planted, or these jack-o'-lanterns which are covering up the water source. When it reaches the end, it's going to come back, so let's just wait for that. It's about to come back and unload all the items. These hopper minecarts are going to take out all of the items that are from the hopper minecarts inside of the composters, and then they're all going to get dispensed into the water stream. All the melon filters are done, but it turns out I actually need some more pumpkins. That's really not an issue anymore because this farm is just insane, so I'll just run it again. Interestingly, you can look at the field and tell where I, the player, have been for the past couple minutes. I think I'll need to set up an AFK spot somewhere in the middle so that I'm close enough for each of them to grow. Alright, everything's set. It's pretty fun to watch the items go around in a circle. I did a bunch of testing and I found out that this is the minimum amount of hoppers that I could have so that the items don't ever despawn. It takes 5 minutes for items to despawn, and the flying machine takes a little over 5 minutes to complete its back and forth. That means when the farm is constantly running, all the items will be sorted by the time it comes back to unload another batch of items. Oh, and I also set up the AFK spot. Alright, let's clean up and move on to the next farm. The next farm is going to be for wood, specifically spruce. I've already got the design set up and all the materials collected. If you remember, I already have a really good tree farm that I've been using for the past year. It's able to produce 5 different types of wood, including spruce, so why am I making this new one? The simple answer is that this new farm is going to produce a lot more wood, about 13 times as much. A drawback to this farm having such incredible rates is that it only works with one type of tree, that is spruce. This farm is going to help me out with crafting stuff like pistons and chests, where wood type doesn't really matter. Something interesting about this farm is that it uses a pig. When you run the farm, you ride on the pig, and I guess that puts you at the exact right height. Like all tree farms, it requires bone meal to run, so I'm gonna go AFK a little bit while the bone meal farm is running, and then hopefully I'll be able to stock up enough before running the farm. Alright, we got a bunch of bone meal in here. It's a little tricky to get inside the farm to start using it, but you turn it on with the lever. Go up here and use the trapdoor to crawl through, and then you can click on the pig. And then if I look here, take off my shield, and then run a command to place blocks. It's almost like an auto clicker. I'm gonna use free cam. It's very hard to see what's happening, but it is working. Tall spruce trees are constantly getting planted, and then those are split into a bunch of TNT blast chambers, and then all of those will end up in the same water stream. I'm gonna run this for 10 minutes and let's see how much we get. It's about 3 minutes in and I just realized I forgot to do something. Let's just turn it off for now. Yeah, I was supposed to put a block in one of these droppers. All of the Shulker Loaders are currently trying to load a full box. Okay, that's easier than I thought. I just have to put one in the top, and then that will eject the current shulker that's already full. Alright, it's been 10 minutes, and this is all of the wood that it made. If I made this at the beginning of the video, I'd probably be a lot more surprised at how insanely good that this farm is, but at this point I'm just like, yep, another crazy efficient farm. Before we move on, I want to quickly say that adding the chunk loaders underneath my base has been an absolute game changer. These input chests used to be full all the time, but now it has time to sort through the items when I'm out doing something else in the world. Okay, for this next farm, what I want to do is show more of the process of making the farm. The very first step is deciding what I want a farm for. I've mentioned before that I would like to touch up my base with some new blocks that come out, and I'm now in the version with the pale oak wood, which would look really good instead of some of this diorite. At least I think. I haven't tested it in creative or anything. So let's build a pale oak farm. Recently I've been finding a lot of the farms that I use from the Technical Minecraft Catalog Discord server. They have a bunch of farm designs that you can download on here. For the pale oak, I'm going to look in the trees and leaves section. This is the fastest design that I could find. You can see on here it has some information about who built it, the rates, some other info. The download link actually links to the Kronos Discord server. And on here you can download, it's either a world download or a Lightmatica file, I'm not actually sure. I'm gonna download the TNT version. I don't want to deal with withers and bedrock for such a small increase in rates. It looks like there's also a fix file for something. We'll have to check out what this is. Okay, for this farm, it is a world download, so let's go ahead and open it up. Okay, it looks like we have the actual farm here, and then this is not usual, but there's some information on how to do some tricky parts of the building. Apparently this is outdated, so let's look at the updated schematic. And it looks like this is just the entire farm updated. Before we paste the schematic in, let's edit it a little bit. First I'm going to get rid of the command block that's just for creative use only. As you might know, I have my own block palette preference for farms. You can actually edit schematics, so I'm going to grab some red glass, some stone, and then I can replace all of a block like that. Mangrove is my preferred wood type, so I'll fix that too. Looking at the material list, it looks like there's some stone and some glass panes I still have to do. Replacing the blocks like this is purely for looks. As long as I don't change anything like obsidian or glazed terracotta, I should be fine. Now with all of the block changes done, I can paste it into the world. Now I'm going to turn it on to test if it works. I'll turn off the Lightmatica. The problem is I can't really figure out how to get in the farm. This is where I'm supposed to be. You've got the llama, the 4 blocks for planting. But yeah, I don't know how to get in there. Okay, I figured it out. I somehow missed that there was a door here. It's not the easiest farm to figure out how to get into. And yeah, you can still ride the llama since it's poking out. Alright, let's actually turn it on now. Right now the farm is configured for dark oak, so that's what I'm going to use. After a bit of testing, I can confirm that the farm does work in this version. Since I'm going to be using this farm for pale oak, I'm going to use worldedit to replace all of the dark oak. I'm also going to need to replace the saplings in the item filters. Pale oak trees work the same as dark oak trees, so they work in dark oak farms. That won't be the case for any other tree because the farm is just not built for that. Usually I would make a compressed shulker box storage, but it looks like there's not any room in here, so I'll just keep it as it is. Now the farm should be all set, and I'm going to save it as a new schematic. Unless there's something I need to change later, that should be it for the creative mode side of things. Now in survival, I can look at that schematic that I saved and I can see all the materials I need to get. Most of this should be really easy to get except for the pale wood, which I just don't have, so I'll have to fly out and find that. Okay, I got almost everything. I still need to get a small amethyst thing, and also the pale wood I need to go get. Ugh. What? That's not small? Okay, that is the small one. To find the pale garden biome, what I'm gonna do is something that I've done in a previous video, which is to just fly in a straight line until I find it. I'm gonna start from the desert. That is really cool to see in the distance, by the way. I have just found my prismarine farm, and I kind of forgot this existed. Wait, what? I think this is my ghast farm, which I forgot even more about this one. Okay, I found a dark oak biome, and I know that the pale garden will always spawn next to one of these. Oh, and there it is. All I really need right now is 4 saplings, but I'm gonna try and get all I can from this biome so I don't ever have to come back. Alright, stuff has been acquired. Ooh! I already got a creaking heart, and I think you can make more from one, but I think I'll just grab another one just in case. Alright, time to fly back. I'm 12,500 blocks away from spawn, by the way. Now all of the materials, except maybe some minecarts and stuff, are collected. Let's grab everything and go build. I want to build it near the other tree farms, so I think this would be a good spot. There's still some stuff that I need to get that don't show up on the material list, like hopper minecarts, which are easy because my iron farm is nearby. But if you remember, I'm also going to need a llama. I'm just now realizing I don't know where llamas spawn. I don't see any in this mountain biome. I looked it up and apparently they spawn in Savannah Plateau biome, so I'm going to one nearby my spawn. I don't see any, and I think this might just be a regular savanna biome that just happens to be in a hilly area. Somehow, I found a pink sheep before finding a llama. This happens to be the exact same area that I found one like a year ago. I don't see that nearby, so I think I might have deleted the chunks in my last video. That's either a massive coincidence, or somehow the pink sheep survived the chunks being deleted. I'll just put it in a boat for now, that should keep it from despawning. I finally found a llama, not that I was looking for too long. We are nearby my swamp area where my slime and witch farm are. I took it all the way back to my base. Now we put down the schematic for where the build is going to be. And look who showed up with a few llamas right where I need them. I don't actually know if the farm would work with trader llamas because they are separate mobs. I would assume so. But yeah, that's just weird timing. Last thing before we build, I'm going to turn on the recording. This is so I can get a time lapse. And from here, you already know the process. So yeah, that is what goes into building a project usually. This one's kind of unusual. The build started out pretty easy, except there was a lot of different blocks I had to be using, so I constantly had to go to my shulkers and get more stuff. But this farm really became challenging when I had to deal with the whole llama thing. The boat that the llama is in had to be at a certain level, and I just couldn't get that with snow layers, because you can't place snow layers on a spot where a boat is already on. According to the guide in the world download, the boat didn't have to actually be in the snow, so I crossed my fingers and hoped that the boat would get in the right spot after the farm had run once. When I had gotten the boat in the right spot and I was trying to get a furnace minecart in, this happened. So yeah, I had to go get a new llama. Eventually I was done with the llama part, or at least I thought I was done. So I continued building the rest of the farm. Now that it's all done, and I confirmed that it works in a copy of the world, I can confidently say that I strongly do not recommend anybody builds this farm. Not only was the building very challenging, but there were so many problems that I had to deal with at the end. I needed more saplings than I thought, the boat wasn't aligned correctly, some items got mixed around, the floating water glitch broke. Eventually, I just lost track of all the stuff that went wrong. I guarantee you there are other designs out there that won't quite have the rates, but are way more enjoyable to build. To be honest, I don't really want to run the farm right now, I'm kind of done with this. And also I don't need pale wood for anything right now. But I think I should run it to get it all stocked up on saplings so it's ready to go. I didn't realize that when I tested it out for the first time, I got really lucky. You have to be very precise with where your cursor is to be able to plant in all 4 spots. I ran the farm for a little bit, and it's gonna take a long time to fill it up with saplings. And it also kind of broke a bit. I just want to get away from this farm. Ironically, the thing I want to do next is the only farm that's more frustrating than this, but I think it'll be smoother second time around. I've already got the materials, and we're just gonna make more shulker farms because I need a lot of shulkers for stuff. The farms I'm building now are not any different from the other farms I made, it's just more of the same thing. Even though I more than doubled the size of my shulker farm as a whole, it was so much easier to build than the last time I expanded it. I built 5 more shulker farms, so now we have a total of 9. I'm always in need of more shulkers, so this probably won't be the last time I expand it, and I'm totally fine with that because I now have a method for building this that isn't pure pain. We're on day 2468, which means that we still have 380 more days to go, and I haven't uploaded in half a year, So let's increase the pace going forward. But before that, I want to quickly mention, if you want to support my channel, you can become a channel member. You get a dedicated spot here in my hardcore world, as well as exclusive weekly update posts and other perks. You can click the join button next to the subscribe button, and if not, remember you can still get schematics on my Discord or my world download in the description, which are free for everyone. I don't know if I've mentioned it in this video, but I have been wanting to upgrade my quartz farm for a while now. You get quartz through bartering, and the farm that I'm building has 256 piglins all within one block. So the first thing I had to do was build a contraption to get all of those piglins. As long as you set everything up correctly and you find the right AFK spot, it just runs on its own. After I got all the piglins, I built the farm around them, and that made it a little bit trickier than it would have been otherwise. I have a shulker of gold blocks, and what I'm going to do is first turn them all into shulkers of ingots, because that's what the farm accepts. And now let's see how long it takes to go through 9 shulkers of gold ingots. Five minutes later, we have 2 shulkers full of quartz, and then there's a little extra left over in the farm. Obviously, the rates aren't as good as some of the other farms, like the gunpowder, the cobblestone, but quartz is just an item that's hard to farm. I'm gonna use up the rest of the gold that I have and see how much quartz we can get. Oh, this feels good to have all this. And I can't complain about all the other stuff, too. That was the last of the farms for resources I frequently run out of, and now I'm going to be building farms for stuff that I might run out of in the future. The farm I'm building now is for wheat. A while back, for some reason, the villager in my previous wheat farm died, and if I ever needed a bunch of target blocks for something, I would be screwed. Wheat farms are pretty simple. You somehow have to collect the wheat after a farmer villager harvests it. But they can take up a pretty large amount of space, and also you need villagers for it, and you don't get a whole lot in return. The design I'm building is a tileable tower, and this is eventually going to be the tallest thing in this area. I was worried I would have to farm a bunch of wheat seeds, because I always just throw those out, because who needs wheat seeds? And then I remembered that I have a flower farm that I usually just compost the seeds away. Working with villagers is usually quite annoying, and it certainly was at first, because the minecarts would somehow go through the floor and then the villager would suffocate. Eventually I built a giant roller coaster that would take them to the top and then drop them on the same spot, so I wouldn't have to build a new railway every time I did a new layer. Oh, and by the way, villagers take fall damage in minecarts. Even when there's water. Cobwebs do work though. I'm gonna have to leave it partially incomplete because I ran out of villagers, so we'll have to wait for those to build up over time. It's still gonna work, it doesn't have to be super tall, but adding more layers is gonna give you more wheat. I try not to ever do this, but I'm going to sleep through the night because it has to be daytime for it to work. Oh, by the way, the old bone meal farm is now broken because I turned it on and off too fast. It'll take a while to really get started, but besides all the layers I added, it's really a simple farm. The wheat is being compressed into hay bales for more efficient storage, and then all the seeds, they should be getting dispensed into lava. I temporarily removed it to get the seeds. I'll just have to wait a little bit for more villagers and then we can finish this off. The next farm I built was for honey, and this one was super easy and it only took like an hour. Again, I've never run out of honey, but I feel like I could given the right project that requires a lot of honey. This farm takes a while to get started, but once it goes, it's pretty crazy. Now, you may find this hard to believe, but before building this farm, I did not actually have 600 beehives full of bees ready to go. My current bee setup was just too small, so I decided to kind of brute force it. I placed all the beehives I would need, and then I just bred the bees until they were all full. At one point, there was more than 1,800 bees, and yeah, as you can imagine, it got pretty chaotic. I did accidentally hit a bee one time, and I was lucky enough to not be in the center of the crowd. The method I used to get all the bees worked surprisingly well, and it didn't take that long. The farm is built next to the Shulker farm, so they'll be able to run at the same time. I continued my tree farm collection by building a mangrove farm. Mangrove is like my go-to wood for farms and stuff. The farm is still pretty complicated, but compared to the other tree farms, this one is much easier to use. The farm that I was planning on building next needs a ton of tinted glass, so I decided to finish up building the Amethyst farm that I never finished. It was still faster to mine by hand though. I built a glow squid farm, and I built this as close to the creeper farm as possible because I just want to save space. It's been a while since I've built in the perimeter, and I didn't make it this big just for the creeper farm. I have a few other things that I want to add in here that would benefit from having all of the space cleared out. The farm is all done, but if we take a closer look, we will see that there are no glow squids spawning. Before I built it in the hardcore world, I had a hard time figuring out what was wrong. It turns out that across the mini ender pearl stasis chambers that I have in my world that act as chunk loaders, there are squids and glow squids that are taking up the aquatic creatures mob cap, which is apparently its own thing. I drained all the water in a 3x3 area around each chunk loader, and the farm worked just fine after that. Now, I don't think I'm going to have to run this farm ever again. I thought I might as well make a regular squid farm next to the glow squid farm. The spot that I built the farm in is very particular. It's far enough away to where mobs won't spawn in the farm that I'm not AFK at. And opposite to the glow squid farm, this one has to be above a certain Y level, and it has to be in a river or ocean. The farm design is very different from the glow squid one. This one uses portals. And of course there needs to be a nether side to collect all the materials. This is like a light version of the nether side of the gunpowder farm. Enough time had passed, so I was able to finish the wheat farm and get rid of the dirt roller coaster. And man, this thing is huge. It goes all the way up to build height and is definitely something that stands out in this area. Now, after all that, I took some time to not build farms, but do something that would help to build farms. So yeah, video title still makes sense. I mined some netherite to upgrade the rest of my tools and build up stock for the supporter hall, which is where people can request armor on their slot, including netherite. I flew around the end to collect some more elytras. I have always used just one in this world and in my survival world, and I think it's time that I finally build up some more so I don't have to constantly repair it every time it gets low. If you have any good elytra name ideas, let me know in the comments. After all these days, I will finally be properly using the ender chests. I have boxes for extra elytras, stuff I run out of a lot, extra tools, rockets, food, and then some commonly used materials. I use this box essentially like a backpack, and I've got a bunch of ender chests in here, and I'll slowly spread them around the world as I need them. The grind to finish this video continues. Earlier in the video, which is months back at this point, I mentioned that I wanted to make a better shroomlight farm, and that is what I am working towards. But first I have to build a much better fungus farm to be able to supply the shroomlight farm. It requires a crazy amount of bone meal to run, and I'm glad that I have this bone meal farm. The design is basically the last fungus farm I had lined up 10 times, and then the input, the output, and on and off are all connected too. Next to that, I finally got to building a shroomlight farm. Interestingly, this is the first farm design I've ever had to pay for, which is fair enough because as far as I know, this farm has the highest shroomlight rate ever. But yeah, I've never seen that before. In addition to also needing a crap load of bone meal, as I mentioned, I also need a ton of fungus. I temporarily changed the farm to give only the blue type because that's what the farm is set up to work with. This farm is quite expensive in more ways than one, but that's the price you pay for a slightly better looking glowstone. You have to be looking at a very precise spot when you run the farm, but once it gets going, this farm is insane. I don't even care about the wart or stem blocks, I'm just doing this for the juicy shroomlights. The next farm I made is for hoglins, and that is how I get my food. You've probably seen a few farms like this. It's a huge chunk of portals in the nether, and then the item collection is on the overworld side. It's pretty resource intensive, but nothing that I don't already have a ton of. I was gonna save the overworld side for the end, but there was a bunch of mobs spawning and not getting teleported, so I decided to do that first. With a farm like this, you have to be pretty careful where you align your portals so they all go to the right one. The rest of the build was very boring and repetitive, but it was quite easy. To finish off, I lit the rest of the portals, and here we have my previous Hoglin farm compared to my new Hoglin farm. This farm is going to work a lot like the creeper farm. The mobs will spawn in the dimension that I'm AFK at, and then the items will be collected as mobs go through the portals that load the chunks. Unfortunately, I can't see what the other side of the farm looks like when it's running, but I'll quickly show you what that would look like. We are almost down to the last 100 days, and I'm going to be building a pretty big farm next, at least bigger than the ones I've been doing recently. I've got all the materials here, including multiple shulkers of pistons and observers. If all this stuff looks familiar, that's because the farm I'm going to be building is almost identical to the sugarcane farm that I built at this point like 4 months ago. I wanted to expand my shulker farm even more, but I realized that I didn't quite have enough bamboo to make all the scaffolding, so this new farm is going to be for bamboo. To get all of the mud for the farm, I built a mud converter farm, and I was shocked when I remembered that I had built a mud farm for this video. It was for when I built the sugarcane farm. I could have sworn that I had built that in a different video, but I've been working on this one video for 7 months at this point, so I guess it makes sense. This new farm produces mud, I think, at the highest possible rate, and that is limited by how fast a player can place the dirt. A bamboo farm can work exactly like a sugarcane farm, except it can be a little bit easier because you don't need to have water right next to it for it to grow. I built it at the exact same size as the sugarcane farm, and I wasn't keeping track, but it did feel like it went by a lot faster. I built it in the same area as the sugarcane farm, and the reason that I built this here is because I didn't want it to be causing any lag next to the other farms that I have in my world, but it turns out that there is a way to build an on and off switch, so I did that for both of the farms. For some reason, not all the bamboo makes it into the main water stream, so I might have to thicken out these glass walls a bit. Just like the sugarcane farm, I have an option to either store it just as the raw bamboo or to compress it into bamboo blocks. The item collection is a lot bigger than the sugarcane farm because bamboo grows a lot faster. I kept it running as I was building, so I've got quite a bit stored up here. We have 75 days left until it's been 1,000 days, and while I was building, we crossed the 900 day mark. With enough scaffolding, I was able to build all of the new shulker farms that I wanted to make. I built 9 new farms, which means that I doubled it from its previous size. Once again, it went pretty smooth. It's easy when you know the tricks to getting the shulkers in the farm. Later on, I decided that I wanted to connect all of the on and off switches to one lever. And while I was doing that, I used my backpack shulker box that I showed you earlier. I used it for something and I never picked it up after I broke it, so it was left on the floor and it despawned eventually. So everything inside of it is gone. I spent a while making a new one, and I'm no longer going to be storing my most valuable tools with all the enchantments and netherite and stuff in my actual backpack. I'll keep that in a shulker that's in the ender chest. We are approaching 50 days left until the 1,000 days are up, and I am struggling to find stuff to do. I built a resin farm, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going to use this because I think the resin blocks look really ugly. The only thing tricky about this was getting all of the creaking hearts. I needed over a stack of them, but you can kind of use the creaking hearts to generate more creaking hearts, so it wasn't really too hard. I built a brand new rail duper for each of the rail types. There's no room for an item collection, which doesn't really bother me based on how many rails it generates. Okay, for real this time, I actually don't know what else to do. The only other projects that I want to do would take longer than I have left, so I'm just going to start working on an iron farm and see how far I get. I'm gonna build it in this area, which is convenient because I already have the villager farm from when I built the original mob switch. The very first thing I'm gonna do is build a chunk loader here because I need all of the villagers I can get. Alright, I would have thought this place was loaded by the spawn chunks, but I guess not because there would have been a lot more villagers here if it was. I've already set up the iron farm in a creative world, so I know exactly what I need, so now let's get all the materials for it. I usually cut this out, but for one last time, let's collect all the materials. Like a lot of other portal-based farms, I'll need a lot of stone slabs and obsidian. Other than that, I don't need a whole lot of anything else. It's the villagers and pillagers that you have to get into the farm that make it hard to build. The farm is split into 3 parts, and the easiest is going to be the nether side chunk loaders. I've already calculated where everything should be, so if you see that square in the ground, that is where I need to build it. It's important that the Y level matches with the chunk loaders that are going to be in the overworld so that the iron golems don't go through here. Next, I started working on the overworld side and made sure that the portals are connected. The next step is getting all of the villagers into the farm. I've had plenty of experience from my survival world, so this actually went pretty smoothly. The other tricky part of the farm is getting pillagers in each of the circles of villagers. You don't need as many pillagers. I built a rail from the farm to the closest pillager outpost that I know, and the thing about the pillagers is that you have to get them to break their crossbows. It takes about 15 minutes, but if you just stand still and let them try and shoot you, eventually they'll break. I moved the pillagers into their slots, and luckily no iron golems spawned and tried to kill them, which is a problem I had in the last time I built an iron farm like this. Before the iron golems start spawning, I'm gonna build the killing chamber in the nether. This is directly above the chunk loaders from earlier, and this is where we want all of the iron golems to end up when they get teleported from the overworld. I built the spawning platforms and lit the portals, and now we have a fully functioning iron farm. This should now be faster than the iron farm I've been using up to this point, which, by the way, has been perfectly fine. I've never run out, but I just want to be prepared in case that ever happens. I spent the rest of the time working on the iron farm, and while I knew I wasn't going to finish it, I'm still surprised by the amount of progress I was able to accomplish. Ladies and gentlemen, the sun is about to rise. It may not seem like that because the rain's kind of ruining the moment. It is about to become day 2850, which is what I said at the beginning of the video would be the end of the 1000 days. And there it is, 1000 days. And that concludes the biggest project of my life that I started 8 months ago. I have more to say and share about this project, so I have a bonus video that's up right now on my second channel. Big thank you as always to my YouTube members. For over 2 months now, I've been posting weekly updates for members only. Members also get access to a permanent slot in my world and other perks. There will be an updated world download in the description that is free to download for everybody. I will also be uploading free schematics of some of the more heavily modified farms in my Discord server. The credits and links to all the farms I used in this video will be in the description. And finally, I'd really appreciate if you left a like on this video if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one.